Can you please evaluate Caleb Williams' performance, both the good and the bad? Are you forgiving of those 3 picks, especially the one in overtime? Was it a good or a mixed performance?
I honestly believe it was a good performance. I think he did the type of stuff. He did the Superman routine at the end of the game, and he showed the great composure that we've come to expect from him. Obviously, the interception in overtime was a killer. And I believe it was Peyton Manning who said every interception has a story. And there's a story to that one. But the story would include DJ, and I don't know if he was compromised or what was going on, but he clearly wasn't expecting the ball to be thrown to him or working toward that end. And the ball was thrown to him, and he didn't even know it was coming. So I think that there's blame to go around on that one. Caleb also took a chance at a point in the game where you didn't have to. At a point in the game where I know they weren't getting anything going, but the middle of the field was wide open, and you could have exploited that all day long. And unfortunately, they didn't. But I think all in all, the takeaway as you walk away from that game and from this season is it is a lot different. You don't feel like, oh boy, Mitch isn't good enough. No, you don't feel like, boy, Justin can't throw well enough. No, you come away and you think Caleb Williams is a special player and should have a special future because he's only going to get better. And that may be a dumb reaction, but I think they got themselves one. And I think that combination of coach and quarterback is only going to get better.
I think they've got one. I think that relationship, Mully, as you pointed out, is only going to blossom. It will keep getting better. So those are the things you have to, like when you wake up this morning and you take a deep breath, and you have to, you nailed it, Mully, with Mitch, they got here, but, is Mitch really a franchise? You nailed it with that. Absolutely nailed it. But I just have such a problem with the interception in overtime. I think we talked about it pregame. I think you guys talked about it in the first segment. It was second down. It didn't have to be that. And you, the Bears, you have the ball at midfield. You basically need 15 yards, and you're kicking a field goal to go to the NFC Championship game. And you won the coin toss in overtime. You did the right thing. You gave the Rams the ball. Your defense 3 and outs, and then you have. And I can't blame DJ more. Probably we're going to find out, and the Bears might get in some trouble for it. Maybe he probably shouldn't have been out there. Maybe he might have because he didn't talk after the game.
He spent 5 minutes in the injury tent.
It's a long time, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably a lot of back and forth. And he probably said, "I want to stay in." I'm sure he wanted to stay in.
And I understand that the miscommunication suggests
and he took another shot too, didn't he? I mean,
he did.
In overtime?
He was involved in a lot of contact,
yes.
And people will jump to the conclusion that, they did have bad chemistry all season long. Got to remember the good times as well, and that was certainly a moment that Caleb Williams will live with that regret all off season long. Because they were at the Rams 48. All they needed was another 15 to 20 yards, a couple checkdowns, maybe a run here or there. They were not in a position to need to take that level of risk. And certainly the Rams made him pay for doing so. It was a bad pass. He had a couple others on those interceptions that were not good ones. But overall, once you criticize Caleb Williams for making a bad decision, that's fine. But also realize they would not have been in that situation without his heroics last night and without his clutch play all season. He was one of the biggest reasons the Bears won 12 games. And his emergence and ascension into the kind of space that Bears quarterbacks don't occupy. We're just not used to this. And you have the coach that is one of the best, and you have a quarterback that will be. And that is the biggest takeaway from this season. Maybe not last night, but once the disappointment wears off, you will feel that sense of optimism because once you get a taste of it, you want even more. And last night, Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson left you wanting even more. Best thing is about last night is that they left you also feeling like you're going to get it.
I'm not talking necessarily about a pick six or something like that.
There he is, Biggs. He'll be here at 8 this morning. Was Ben Johnson too aggressive? Should Johnson have taken a field goal early when he went for it on 4th down? Why do you think he didn't?
We talked about this a little bit, and I think the opening drive, you do want points. You could make a statement. You could say, all right, we're here. We're going to take an early lead. We're going to do all those things because they gave us the ball, and we're going to just take a psychological edge, and all of those things are true. At the same time, the Bears having the ball right out of the gate, Ben Johnson probably had reason to doubt his defense. You're going up against the NFL's number 1 offense in points and yards. And I don't care what the conditions were. You thought they would be limiting, and they were. We'll talk about that later as well. But you did not want to give up a chance to score a touchdown for the sake of a field goal. You needed to get touchdowns, not field goals. You started out this game thinking it was going to be a higher scoring affair. I think Ben Johnson went in with that mindset. So I get it on 4th and 2 from the Ram 21, why he did that. I understood the logic, even though if my football sensibilities say, yeah, I'm pretty conventional, I would have taken the field goal if all things were equal, if I were calling the plays. I wasn't calling the plays. A guy who knows what he's doing, a guy who is naturally aggressive, I got it because it was defensible. So I don't want to criticize Ben Johnson for doing what I think was in character and on brand. It didn't work out. Doesn't mean it was the wrong decision.
I thought it was the wrong decision on that first drive, for sure, because you have the ball, you have the momentum, and the weather was a factor. There's no doubt about the weather was a factor yesterday. And if even with the field goal, the crowd is just lathered up. And then you miss the 4th down, they take the ball, and they go right down the field. And for a little bit, the energy was out of that building. I guess if he's going to be that aggressive, don't you have to do it every single time? And then it could get into, and maybe we'll talk about it, maybe we won't. If you're that aggressive, and he did talk about it after the game, did he ever think about going for 2 at the end of the game?
He did talk about that.
He did talk about it.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're
Crossed his mind.
If you're that aggressive, then I almost say you should have went for 2.
We'll get into that because I don't think that's the...
I agree. It's not.
I understand why you'd say that.
All I'm saying is it's not his going for it. His over aggressiveness is not consistent. And then the game's tied at 7, and he goes for it with that run where that was 3 more points you could have had, and you could have had a 10-7 lead earlier than the 10. So you got to almost break down each and every one of these and go back to it and do some math. I mean, at the end of the day, if they kick that first field goal, they win the game, right? Maybe not, but 3 points.
Maybe.
That's 3 points that they don't have that I think they would have gotten. Too aggressive for me.
I mean, in real time, as you watched it, it felt like, and again, I think conventional wisdom has kind of seeped in with everyone, and it felt like kick the field goal and just get points off the opening drive and keep the crowd in the game, etc. But the reality is that's not the guy you hired as the head coach. He's not going to do that. He's going to be aggressive. I wondered if the feeling was that your again, that's not confidence in your defense. That ended up being the first interception, right? It's what, 4th and 2 from the 21.
Yes.
And that's your first interception of the game out of 3. And you thought, it's okay because they get the ball at the 15, but then they march down the field and score a touchdown.
14 plays.
And you're kind of like, oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
And you could feel the air come out of the building a little bit. And here we go again. And then you thought, well, they just got to keep it close because they come from behind all the time. They'll do that. They'll have no problem doing that. And I felt that way for much of the game, that they would have no problem doing that. And unfortunately, the third interception was a killer. And, you might not have needed the first one just to kind of load up. I thought that the decision itself forgave the interception because you weren't going to complete the pass. So frankly, they shouldn't have caught the ball. because you'd have had the ball at the 21 instead of the 15, whatever it was. It just, you lost yards by making an interception. So I didn't think it was, once you didn't convert on the 4th down, I didn't think it was that big a deal. But I think it looks bad at the end of the game when you say 3-0 on takeaways.